Dorial Green Beckham was a wide receiver prodigy coming out of high school, a star his 2 years at Missouri, and he showed flashes of becoming an NFL star player his rookie year. But as of 2020, DGB has completely thrown his football career away and has struggled to stay out of legal trouble. So my question is, what happened to Dorial Green Beckham's once promising football career? He was seen as one of the best wide receiver prospects in the history of the game of football and was projected to be a big-time player at the next level, but things just didn't work out. Today I will answer that question of what happened to him, as we will talk about the rise and fall of Dorial Green Beckham and why everything happened. But first, if you love college football, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, and stay until the end. Now let's get started and talk about what happened to Dorial Green Beckham. As a Mizzou fan, I remember when he committed to Mizzou back in the day when I was in elementary school, but let's first rewind to 1993 when Dorial Green Beckham was born in St. Louis, Missouri. Sadly, Dorial grew up in a family that was plagued by poverty and drug addiction, and his dad was always in and out of jail. It took a toll on Dorial and his younger brother Darnell, and he eventually got put into the foster system. They were adopted by Tracy and John Beckham, and they now lived in Springfield, Missouri. From the very beginning, DGB was a freak of nature and excelled at every sport he tried. He eventually grew to become 6'6" at Hillcrest High School and was also an all-state caliber sprinter. He completely dominated on the football field, and locals said they had never seen anything like him before. Turns out it wasn't just the locals who were surprised, as Dorial would go on to break the high school record for all-time receiving yards and was ranked number 1 in the country at one point. Every school in the country wanted his talents, but it really came down to 3 schools. Oklahoma, one of the most prestigious brands in football, Arkansas because it was close and he had a great relationship with their offensive coordinator, and finally Missouri because it was the closest school and he had a spectacular relationship with head coach Gary Pinkel, and they were also beginning a new era of football as they were set to join the SEC. He ended up waiting all the way until National Signing Day to make his decision, and he was set to commit on national television. Sadly, it was not all fun and games for the family though, as his brother Darnell was diagnosed with leukemia in high school and would have to undergo rigorous treatment. Dorial ended up committing to play for Mizzou, and the program even honored Darnell by offering him a scholarship to the team, and he became a part of the Tigers' 2014 class, but he would never end up playing. As a recruit, 24/7 Sports listed him as a 5-star recruit, the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 1 overall recruit in the country. Going into the 2012 season, Missouri was under legendary head coach Gary Pinkel and were set to begin a new era of football in the SEC. The Tigers returned quarterback James Franklin, running back Kendall Lawrence, and an All-American defensive tackle in Sheldon Richardson, and they were expected to at least make a bowl game. Mizzou would lose their first premier SEC game at home against Georgia, and after James Franklin went down with an injury, the season started to go downhill. Backup quarterback Corbin Bergstresser led the Tigers to wins against Arizona State, Kentucky, and a 4 overtime thriller against Tennessee, but they would end up going 5-7 and missed a bowl game altogether. DGB played a lot of snaps as a freshman, but he only caught 28 passes for 395 yards, but he did lead the team with 5 touchdowns. James Franklin was back, Henry Josie was healthy, and their defense was anchored by Michael Sam, Coney Ely, and E.J. Gaines, who would all play in the NFL. The Tigers started out 5-0, and in their win against Indiana, he'd catch 8 passes for 105 yards and a touchdown. They went into their game against number 7 Georgia, ranked number 25, and they proved they were legit as they controlled the game from start to finish, and then also beat number 22 Florida the following week. DGB, with Damian Washington and Marcus Lucas, became a triple threat in the receiving game, and Mizzou was ranked top 10 in the country. After leading from the very start of their game against South Carolina, they blew a lead to the Gamecocks and lost in overtime by way of a missed chip shot field goal. They beat Tennessee the following week before DGB had the game of his life against Kentucky, where he catch 7 passes for 100 yards and 4 touchdowns. Then the Tigers beat number 24 Ole Miss and number 21 Texas A&M to clinch the SEC East, and were 1 win away from making the national championship game. DGB would have a career-high 144 receiving yards in the championship game against Auburn, but Trey Mason would chew up Mizzou's defense, and they fell short of the national title. As a Mizzou fan, this was heartbreaking, and it was probably the closest we will ever get to making the championship game. They finished the year 12-2 with a win over Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl, and on the year, DGB caught 59 passes for 893 yards and 12 touchdowns, en route to becoming a member of the All-SEC second team. Unfortunately, this would be the last season of his collegiate career, as this is where everything started to go downhill. Trouble actually began his freshman year, as him and 2 roommates were caught with marijuana, and he had to settle that in court. Just a few days later after the Cotton Bowl win, Green Beckham was once again caught with marijuana in his car, but to his luck, it wasn't his. Now things get really interesting later on in April, as he allegedly broke into his girlfriend's home and pushed her down a flight of stairs. This, coupled with his drug offenses, led to his dismissal from the team. It was a huge blow to Mizzou, as they ended up going 10-2 that season, and maybe Dorial Green Beckham could have been the difference maker between them potentially getting to the college football playoff. From there, DGB was taken in by Oklahoma, but due to NCAA rules, he would have to sit out a year. He luckily stayed out of trouble enough while he was in Norman and entered the 2015 NFL Draft. Everyone knew he had all the talent in the world to be a first-round pick and an NFL difference maker, but could he stay out of trouble? Would a team look bad for taking him, and how would he affect the other players in the locker room? Despite all those concerns, the Tennessee Titans thought it was worth the risk and took him with the 40th overall pick in the second round. He was expected to be a big-time target for Marcus Mariota, and his first ever catch was actually a touchdown. From there, DGB established himself as one of the best rookie receivers in the nation and had 2 games of over 100+ yards receiving. As a rookie, he would catch 32 passes for 549 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was solid, but nothing spectacular at this point, but he was definitely expected to take the next step in his second year. Just a few weeks before the 2016 season, he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for Dennis Kelly. DGB's second year was not as strong as his first year, as he had never eclipsed 100+ receiving yards in a game and only caught 2 touchdowns on the year. It seemed that either he just wasn't good enough or he just didn't apply himself. After his second year, it was already rumored that DGB maybe wasn't even going to make the 53-man roster. He consistently dropped passes, was always getting yelled at, and just wasn't worth a hefty contract, so he ended up getting cut by the Eagles. After his time in the NFL, he was arrested for driving under the influence in 2017, and then arrested again in 2018 for marijuana and resisting arrest. As of 2020, I have seen comments on some of my previous YouTube videos that he's working at a Subway back in his hometown, but I have no idea if that's true or not, and I really don't know what he's up to today. I would assume he's spending a lot of time with family and trying to get his act together, and I'm rooting for DGB every single day. We all make mistakes, and he came from a tough life, but we do have to hope that he gets his life together and doesn't go down that same path again. DGB was supposed to be the next Calvin Johnson by a lot of people, but he never had the physical or mental skills to make it happen. He had the body, but he always struggled to catch passes and use his body to its full capacity. He may not have been mentally strong either, as he never fully applied himself and didn't seem to learn from a lot of his mistakes. I truly do hope DGB can get his life together and start doing the right thing, but he's got to completely move on from the past and take things one day at a time, and I'll be rooting and praying for the kid. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please be sure to give it a like. If you're a Mizzou fan, let me know your thoughts on DGB, and if you're just a casual college football fan, I'd like to know your thoughts as well, and another player I should take a look at. Before you go, be sure to check out all my videos about Missouri Tigers players and all my What Happened to College Football videos. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.